Assalamualaikum and good morning, Dr. Rohani. My name is Aida and I will kick off our presentation with the topic No Room for Racism. My amazing team members are Anis, Fazli and my Sarah. Today we will debunk how vital this topic is to talk through and learn from. Do you remember one of the most haunting incidents in Malaysia occurred on 16th May 1969? Riots happened between Malays and Chinese after the 1969 Malaysian general election, causing 100 fatalities, forcing declaration of darurat. Why did this happen, even though Chinese has migrated into Tanah Melayu since 19th century? What is the reason for racism? Racism is initiated with inappropriate labeling due to lack of understanding in our multi-diverse society. This could gradually cease if actions are to be taken and ones are bold to stand against racism and help to end it through communication, education, and interaction potentials in daily life. This very day, we will discuss why racism exists, the negative impacts on individuals, as well as the solutions to overcome racism.
A very good morning to Madam Rohani and to all my fellow classmates. My name is Maisara binti Abdul Aziz and I'll be presenting the part for causes and factors that leads to the growth and spread of racism culture. Let's dive into the first point. Author Richardson published a paper in 2009 about Islamophobia, and in this paper he mentioned that mainstream media such as news outlet, blogosphere and media socials are one of the main driving mechanisms that leads to the soaring and increasing of acts of discrimination and injustice. His statement is very true because nowadays we can see there are a lot of news on television and social media posting and threads that circulating around that consist of racist agendas and stereotypes regarding certain individual, group of people and religions. In our case, it will be more towards Islam and Asians. This happened due to the lack of exposure and education about this matter. If this problem keeps on happening, more people will be influenced by all these agendas and false ideas toward the targeted individual or specific group and religions. Hence, action needs to be taken to those who purposely propagate and promote hatred toward this underrepresented racial group as well as religious group. The next factor will be focusing more on racism towards Asian living in the United States, and the factor being is the negligence committed by the US government. This can be seen when the US government failed to address the issue regarding COVID-19 properly and thus generating more social stigma around Asian living in the country. Hatred and discrimination targeted toward Asian has been around for a very long time actually, but it recently peaked or increasing during this pandemic. This can be proven as New York City Commission and Human Rights received around 248 reports regarding harassment and discrimination, with half of its victims is from Asian descent. This is because most people blame Asians, or to be more precise, towards Chinese citizens, due to the very first COVID-19 outbreak was reported in Wuhan, China, as the result of them eating wild animals, namely bats, snakes, and pangolins, that are believed to be the source for this deadly virus. Undoubtedly, those in higher position and the government itself have the power to make a change, but most of them fail to do so because they tend to neglect their responsibilities in regards to addressing the issue or this matter. Besides, the former president of the United States, Donald Trump, has lied and hid the truth and facts about COVID-19, which worsened the situation in the US. We can relate this with the racism towards Islam or toward Muslims because Donald Trump also have openly stated that he is an Islamophobia and a supporter of anti-Muslims. In addition, the behavior of stigmatizing a group of people just based on their traits or characteristics that are unfavorable to the society is one of the factors that also contributes to the growth and increasing of discrimination, injustice, and prejudice. To put it more clearly, everyone in this world is unique in their very own way by having different cultural backgrounds, religion, skin colors, as well as political ideologies. All of these traits determine an individual's otherness that are off-putting in nowadays society's expectation. Those who possess the so-called undesirable characteristic will be treated and presented as the outsiders in today's community. In a similar way, identities are created for these types of group. Either it will gain support from the society or the other way around, which is created a group that do not fit the image of public interest. On the whole, everyone in this world is deserved to be treated equally. It doesn't matter if we came from different part of the world, having different cultural background, religion, skin color, as well as political ideologies. From my point of view, parents plays a vital role in educating and shaping their children to always treat and respect each other the way they wanted to be treated.
What is the effect of racism on victims? What could be worse than when your life is ruined? Primarily, the harsh treatments greatly impact emotional, mental, and physical health of victims. Victims might encounter aggressive behaviors such as verbal harassments, physical assaults, or even online bullying. As a result, victims' overall health deteriorates and they are unable to fully express their authenticities. To clarify these issues, unmanaged stress due to repressed emotions will induce victims to unhealthy coping behaviors such as neglecting balanced diet, which will promote disease development. Besides, a victim's self-esteem decline as they fear judgments and criticism from society. To sum up, aggressive behaviors and discriminations negatively impact victims. Emotion, mental, and physical greatly influence one another, which means a slight change in the emotions could lead to unhealthy physical and mental states. Thus, it is evident that these upsetting situations should happen to no one, as everyone deserves to be in their best form. On the other hand, racism causes a victim's social life to be seized unintentionally. The discrimination thrown at victims creates zero connection and broken relationships between victim and society. To explain this, a victim who faces social exclusion has scanty seats to engage in economical, political, cultural, or social aspects within a community as they are not favorable. Also, since a victim always feels threatened and unsafe at all times, victims' relationship with people they cherish may fall out as he would not jeopardize all of their safety. Furthermore, victims struggle to divulge their invisible stigmas like religious belief, gender identity, sexual orientation, and illnesses, making them hard to bond with people as relationship continuity requires transparency. Ultimately, a victim flounders in sustaining a relationship as he is clouded by negative thoughts regarding his capabilities to interact with society. Clarification for this situation is that a researcher mentioned that an alienated person often perceives himself as unwanted and unloved. The backwash of these circumstances is victims face hardships in persevering relationships. Not only the victims are restricted to interact openly with just anyone, but he might also feel and act invisible in society. It is abnormal for a human to be isolated, and it is our nature to interact with each other. Thus, one should be able to freely interconnect with people they like. Next, neglection of one's worth and identity is one of the untold racism repercussions. Undoubtedly, victims are labeled as inferior by society due to all the stereotypes and the stigmatizations circulating in our group. As a result, victims of racism needed to face prejudices, discrimination, and spiteful treatments in various situations. These despicable actions may happen to anyone and anywhere, such as kids at school, teenagers online, elderly taking a stroll, employees in meetings, and many more. Moreover, racial microaggressions could take place without the victim and perpetrator realization. Nevertheless, the subtle attributions could amplify the way victims are treated unequally in society over a certain period. Furthermore, it is grueling for victims to grab amazing opportunities like securing a career and getting into college. Not only that they are unable to pursue their passions, but also losing their self-confidence after countless rejections. In essence, identity acknowledgement plays a crucial role in determining one's self-esteem. The aftermath of these wrongful treatments on victims could cause significant loss to their lives, and it is dreadful for someone to feel devalued throughout his life when he has infinite to offer to the world. Hence, to be unbiased and respectful is the way to protect one's worth and identity.
So, after all, what is the solution and how we want to reduce the discrimination across the world? The solution that we came up to overcome the problem we stated previously is suggesting that as a person, we should learn to value one another in order to maintain the peace. This is because racial privilege must play out across social, political, economic, and cultural environment. As we can see, from the political aspect, the government should play roles to reduce racism in a country by having a raising campaign. For example, the government of Japan launched an awareness-raising campaign against hate speech in 2005, particularly in response to recommendation and concluding observation by respectively the UN Human Rights Council and ICED, urging the Japanese government to regulate hate speech by law to address the lack of proper investigation and prosecution by the relevant authorities. Next, from the social perspective, as the community, we must continue to enhancing our mutual respect and tolerance between religion and diverse culture. This is because respect is the foundation of human and ethical behavior, and mutual respect underpins a good relationship. To have a respect for a person involves a fundamental belief in their right to exist, to be heard, and to have the same opportunity as everyone else. Respect doesn't mean ignoring people different or simply tolerating them. Rather, it involves recognizing difference, understanding their significance, and responding with interest, politeness, and care. Vice versa, lack of mutual respect not only gets in the way of your work, but it also can damage your relationship and your self-esteem, and it could lead to illegal or unethical behavior such as bullying or harassment. Furthermore, from the economical point of view, the government must be prepared to enforce every legal and formal sanction. For instance, any government minister, senior official, organization, individual, politician, or who display racism in speech or action are subject to every legal and formal punishment. This is important to ensure that no matter what races they are, everyone get their own advantage. Next, our second path to cope with the problem are checking and using your privilege to tackle the racism issue. First of all, every person is entitled to equal constitutional protection without discrimination. This is shown when Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob, who has been consistently making racist comments and urged Malaysians to keep the present government, as the present government can safeguard the right of Bumiputra. Besides, using the right that you have to motivate the other collectively includes first being respectful of those privileged and understanding their consequences. It is important because if you are disadvantaged by being treated the same as another person, when your conditions are different, prejudice may also occur. Therefore, the protection of human rights must be provided to every person to prevent the discrimination. Last but not least, we must treat all equally no matter what races or religion they are. Equal does not mean, last but not least, we must treat all equally no matter what races or religion they are. Equal does not mean that we are all the same. Each of us is different in our special way. But we also have the common quality that make us all human. So each of us should be treated with respect and dignity and treat the other in the same way. No person should be discriminated against in their sexual and reproductive life. Everybody have the right to protection from all forms of violence caused by reason of their race, color, language, sex, religion, political, national or social origin or another status. We born to be free, so all the people have an equal right to freedom. Therefore, equality to treat everyone equally. Human right, the right to be treated the same as any other human, no mattering who they are or where they are from, but just acknowledge that they are human too. So that's all from me. Thank you. I will pass to my friend.
Assalamualaikum and good morning to Dr. Rohani and my fellow friends. I am Anisha Zwadi binti Apandi, and now I will continue with our second solution, which is understand and collaboratively respond to the public demand to overcome the racism and violence issue in the society. There are a lot of racism cases that happen all around the world, which discrimination and violence happens due to many factors including racism. Therefore, proactive action needs to be taken to tackle this issue, which public demand for overcoming the racism and violence issues in the society had to be understood and collaboratively responded. For instance, Justice Department needs to move forward with anti-racist and anti-colonial actions. This is because treatment according to races has become a norm in some communities, including the Justice Department. This can be proven where Wayne et al. 2020 generalized that the policing in the United States is broken and dangerous since there was a lot of evidence on killing incidents that happened there. To sum up, it clearly shows that this is very important because the Justice Department is supposed to treat and keep the community safe. Therefore, they should treat everyone the same and prevent any discrimination from happening in the society, especially in the Justice Department. Furthermore, a better point of view about racism can be embraced by a good mental health. As a consequence, global mental health organizations must play a role to give a better impact on the society, such as give awareness talk about how important a mental health is and relate mental health with the racism issues because not everyone is aware of this issue. In addition, the field of global mental health needs to build up their capacities to fight racism and prevent from any violence as well as mental illness. This is because racism might affect people in terms of their health, mental health, and well-being. In conclusion, mental health is significantly important because mental illness might affect people's life as well as their health. Therefore, global mental health organizations must take actions to help the society to overcome their problem which might lead to mental illness. Moreover, protest movements all around the world have affected people's opinion about racism. Indirectly, it has spread awareness about racism, which crucially happens in many countries and discriminates them due to the races and religions, which had triggered people to do the protest movement to show their anger and dissatisfaction. People start to realize that we all have been living in unfair world and how crucial racism is. However, everyone not only started calling for an end to the injustice system, race-based treatment and institutional racism, but they are also calling for a chance in the socio-economic aspect and all corners of life, including homes, businesses, sports, and government. All in all, people from all over the world must play a role to overcome this racism issue from continually happening. Participation in any protest movement regarding racism can spread the awareness of the anti-racism actions, which can help the world to overcome this racism issue.
Despite the act of discrimination, injustice, and bias having detrimental effect on the targeted individual or group of people, there are also positive impacts that can be derived from it. For instance, authors Wilson and Thompson reported that after the heartbreaking mass shooting tragedy in New Zealand back in 2019, the Prime Minister of New Zealand, Jacinda Ardern, and Minister of Police Stuart Nash immediately decided to reform its gun law, such as ban on semi-automatic weapons or rifles, initiated a gun buyback scheme, as well as gun registration scheme.
Furthermore, the death of George Floyd has triggered people all over the world, which have drawn thousands of demonstrations and protest movements in cities across the countries with the slogan, "Defund the Police," Black Lives Matter, and Movement for Black Lives that spread the awareness against racism and police brutality, as well as all racially motivated violence against Black people. Equally important, the discrimination that happened in Malaysia made the government has lead initiatives to undertake intense and widespread public and social awareness education through mass campaign, public information, and particularly through the formal education system. In conclusion, we have seen the causes, effects, and the solution to overcome racism in detail. For example, one of the reasons racism is initiated in the first place is due to the negative stereotyping of a certain individual, beliefs, and cultural background that later lead to the negative effect, such as affecting someone's mental, emotional, and physical health. What we can do to put an end to this issue once and for all are to learn to value one another to boost harmony, as well as understand and collaboratively respond to the public demand to overcome the racism and violence issues in the society. Therefore, it is unacceptable and unfathomable that racism is still happening in the 21st century in our world today.